seen by many. There you are, folks. We're on.
Here we are.
Define many.
Welcome.
First episode.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Dave.
And I'm Maurice.
And he's Maurice. And we thought we'd try something a little different tonight, fellas. We're having a couple little technical difficulties, but we're going to get going.
We're getting going.
Here's the point of tonight. The point of tonight is that we do an awful lot of live hits. We do an awful lot of interviews. We haven't really done anything live where we can talk about some serious things. And we thought that, you know what, tonight we'd open this up. We'd spend a little time. Maybe we'll see how it goes. But we thought we'd spend a little time on this. First thing I want to do, we're going to set the topic here shortly. But we have an email address that we would like for you guys to...
Hey, guys, what's that?
Can't see me.
What on what? Your laptop. Laptop volume.
turn your laptop volume down.
First episode, folks.
That's right.
No, it's off.
Is it off?
Well, what are we hearing?
Maybe mine's on.
I think we're good
Mine
now.
shouldn't be on.
All right.
We're good.
Can I get in the picture somehow?
So,
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to show them.
no, actually, we don't need that.
No, it's very important.
It's not important at all. Howard Stern has nothing to worry about here tonight, but we're going to have some fun. I can still hear a kickback, but hey, we're
whose
trying.
is it?
This is new. We're trying this out.
We'll try that. Could have been mine.
Could be.
Oh, look at that.
I don't hear it now.
All right, so that was mine. So, hey, welcome. So this is the Barstools Bullpen, Episode 1. Credit where credit is due. This was Maurice's idea. We talked a couple weeks
shucks.
ago. Yeah, we talked a couple weeks ago. We met on it, or I guess early last week.
Yep.
And the idea here tonight, guys, is we want everybody to weigh in. This is going to be we see a lot of people are watching already, but we want you to, there's two ways you can communicate here tonight. You can go right on what you see the stream. You
Yep.
can ask us some questions, and we'll do our best to answer it. You can also go to, I'm going to give you an email address, which is scrolling
It's
at
actually,
the top.
yeah. scrolling at the top.
Barstoolsbullpen@gmail.com.
Right on. And we will be looking for any questions that you send in. So, for starters, Moa, we have you here. Birthday boy this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We'll also mention today is...
Still hungover.
Yeah, there you go.
29.
Eddie Van Halen's birthday today. Don't know if you guys knew that or not.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
No. Another Aquarian.
Yeah. I believe he would have turned 65 today. A lot of people were posting about that. So, and you know, it's interesting. When he passed away, I had kids that were 10 and 11 years old that came up to me and talked about Eddie. So, what you would call a generational musician, I would say.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Mo, before we get started here, we often reference you. You were one of the first that came on to Barstools and Band Talk, and you were just getting into the live streaming. And I would say that you jumped in a big way. Mentioned tonight we wanted this to look pro.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
by golly, it's looking pretty pro.
Yeah, I studied the Sportsnet programs and that, and studying how they're set up. We're getting there. But I dove in quickly. I had to, after I went through my little funk at the beginning, like everybody did, and I realized I got to figure something out. I started doing this, and you guys already had, and the whole thing. There was a couple incidents. One of the very first things that started with me is I'll never forget the scene. Through your cracked windshield, you guys were sitting in front of what was the old Misty Moon talking, and I said, and then this is pretty neat. And then about an hour or two later, you popped up on in front of another old spot, and I said, these guys are onto something.
Yeah.
And then the reminiscing started, and people started forgetting about what was going on for those few minutes, and then I realized, okay, this is where this is going.
And this is
then-
exactly what it was. It was designed
And
as
that's
a
how it
distraction.
started. And
That's
I
it.
bought right in, and Jackie Smith was right there at the beginning, and then all those old guys talking about the old days, just kind of reminiscing. And I'm not one to do that. I don't look back. I always look forward. I'm not much for like reunions and stuff like that. But it was nice. It was a nice distraction. And you guys had the idea to make people happy. Just thinking about that. And then you guys started doing some incredible stuff. You brought the fans and the musicians together, and the artists, and then the streaming started, and everybody, and then of course the kitchen party.
Yeah.
And when that happened, then all of a sudden the world got real small, real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it was all about. Then I thought about, okay, now we got to start a village. And I can't do this by myself.
No.
And I saw people like, thinking outside the box like yourselves. And then I thought, well, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then next thing you know, everybody starts. I mean, everybody's doing it. Lots of people are doing. There's some people are banging it out of the park. I mean, I think JP Cormier is probably one of the few guys that's actually making a really good living online right now.
He's Ginger's
And
bar there. Yeah, he was on the show. He was
yeah, and but there's a few people that do it very well, but he's a monster talent, right? So he's already had like his master classes and stuff like that. So he's taken it and he really, really did a number with it. There's a lot of people that are struggling with it. I'm still struggling with it. I'm having fun with it, but dude, I'm not making a dime.
No.
And there's lots of us that aren't, and there's some of us that aren't even making money, and they're not even doing anything. And it breaks my heart.
That's a good point.
And that's
'cause
kind
this
of what get me the idea for this.
Exactly, because I mean, one thing just to open up the bars, but the bars are going to experience a new normal. We don't even know what that is yet, but it's kind of like how
There
do
is
we
no
get,
normal yet.
yeah, well, this is it. So how are we going to get folks paid? That's kind of what we're going to talk about a little
Part
bit
of
tonight.
that, yeah. And I think we got to get people. We got to get people out of the swamp that they're in. I mean, there's like Sean. When's the last? I mean, you did one gig on the drums.
Well, actually, I did 2 at Dolan's.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Right, and then everything shut down. And no, sorry, I did 2 after the shutdown, and then I did 2 other ones, so 4 in total,
Yeah.
and then a video shoot last Sunday, and that's pretty much been it.
But we did the Persuaders played 4 gigs this year, 3 roadside campground gigs, and
How'd that go?
they went fine. We were outside. They were distance. We were 20, 30 feet from the audience, and we put boxes and road cases up so no one could get near the stage. And there was always a goof or two that wasn't quite getting it or just being stupid, But it was the safest thing we could do. And then we did 1 gig at Dolan's, and really, that's outside of that. Like bands didn't stand a chance. So you got guys like Michael Lloyd and Tyler Key downtown, and and myself a little bit doing these duo gigs, and they're good. I mean, there's been a few band gigs, but so few that it's not worth really even talking about, other than how we get the bands working again. How are we going to do this and do it fairly? Because I mean, how come some places can have entertainment and some places just can't? And,
Well, you know what? We will talk on that because I think we've all have some opinions and different viewpoints of how that's taking place. But one of the things that I do want to point out, because this may become prevalent, we have our whiteboard over here.
That's great.
There's 2 numbers that we want to give out. One is the Nova Scotia Mental Health Crisis Line, which is 888-429-8167. Through the course of
I
this,
should put that on the screen, actually.
yeah. Why don't you do
I
that?
can do that. I'll do that.
And through the course of this, people may need to check into that. Yeah. Kids Helpline is 800-669-6868, another very important number. And the Bell Let's Talk Day, January 28th, I actually have my Bell Let's Talk bracelet going. Another important event where they donate a portion of every text that's sent to the cause, so that's fantastic. So, getting started here. I mean, we're theming this. How do we get this little industry back going again? How do we get it started? So, Maurice, you talked about so you're at the Ale House this weekend with Leith.
With Leith, yeah, to 7 to 11, 7 till 10. So, and one of the reasons why that bar is actually stands a chance. I mean, like, it's a fine family that we work for there. I feel like it's my home. I've been working there for over 10 years, and they respect me there. I feel like I'm part of that family, and I'm glad and grateful that I work there. But they own their own building. And outside of that, there's bars and restaurants downtown that don't stand a chance if this thing gets, like, they barely made it through the first lockdown, and here they are in the second lockdown. And I'm not trying to shit on the government. And I'll tell you one thing: I don't post political stuff on my Facebook page. I stay away from politics. I stay away from religious issues. I stay away from all that. I'm a musician. I want to entertain, and I want to promote with music. And there's no way. I've been pacing my house today, going, "How are we going to do this and not get political?" It's not going to happen.
No, it won't.
It's going to get political.
It's okay.
But this is the forum. I think you guys got this Barstools Bullpen. This is what this was meant to be, where we can get political if we need to, because it's what's going to happen is, somebody's feelings might get hurt a little bit.
We've always tried to provide a joyful distraction outside of all the crap that was going on.
This
for
is
sure,
I think this is
this one's going to be a little different though, because this time we need to talk about some issues. We need to get serious about some of the things because, and I'm hoping that folks chime in. And again, it's barstoolsbullpen@gmail.com, or just make a comment here on the Facebook page, because we want to hear what you have to say. To Maurice's point earlier, it's not just more questions. You may have some answers. We don't pretend to know all the answers, but we're just going to talk about it. That's what we're here to do.
Like I said, guys, I mean, I'm looking around this table. I don't see a lawyer. I don't see a doctor. and I don't see a politician, so I don't see any expert people on this panel. We're just a bunch of guys trying to get some answers and figure out. And once again, I mean, Sean, like he went out he went out on behalf of all of us and stuck his neck out. I've heard you on Rick Howe. I saw you on CTV News, and I thought, man, there's a guy whose heart's in the right place, but I think he needs a louder voice. And these little things help. I mean, I know it's Bruce Nelson, one of the first people tuned in today, and he's got something to say. He's been there. He's in the thick of it with a nightclub who's shooting it out of the park. And how there's some. Now they're lucky too. They got a venue that is not like a typical venue.
It's a throwback to the day, right?
But they can have the space, and it was always a throwback.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But they can discard to half of their seating capacity, and because the venue is so high class with the quality of the production, and the quality of just the environment in there, that a cover charge isn't something you argue about now.
No.
You know what I mean? Like I'm pay $7. Like right now, people pay $20-$30 to see anything that's quality. And I've never seen a place sell out so much as it has since the pandemic started.
That's
you know.
right.
Well, it's interesting because we did our live show July 25th.
Yep.
And we sold tickets to it. And I just remember the whole time that the build up is like, how are we going to do? How are we going to do? How are we going to do? And we were allowed to put, was it 100 people in there at that time?
Yeah, it was 100 people.
And we sold out.
Yeah.
You were on the panel.
Yes.
You did it too.
That was a great show.
It was a lot of fun, and I tell you, and we have to do another one. We have to do another
Absolutely.
one. It can't be a one and done sort of scenario. But one of the things that came out of that for me that night was that we had some people that said, we're not going to go. We don't feel safe. Great venue for it. Was done in a great way. All kinds of social distancing. The word of the hour. But people have to have, they felt like they had a really good time, and it was a good thing, and there needs to be more of that taking place.
There was actually they did it in a very, everybody felt safe.
Yep.
And we were doing our best. And this is kind of what we're touching on tonight. Not all bars are running on the same set of rules. And I don't mean like they're cheating. I'm just saying that those guys didn't want, because they stuck their necks out. That was the first live event I think that we even had here, and they were under such scrutiny from the government and from the health inspectors and all the stuff. And they didn't want to screw up. They didn't want to make this be the bar, And of course they didn't. And they're very professional. But not all bars are set up like that. Like they did it right, and I feel sorry for like Colleen just upstairs there in that little tiny pub. Like, how do you distance a bar that everybody has to walk past one another to get in, get out, go on stage, go to the bathroom, or go to get a drink? And she didn't have a choice when she built that bar that it was going to be laid out like that. So we have to make it so that anybody that wants to have some live entertainment or hire a staff or sell a drink or sell a meal have to somehow be fairly treated in this within reason, because there is safety issues, and we have a pandemic, and like some people are a little less sympathetic over it, but you know what, we didn't start the fire.
Well, you know what, but that's a good point, because in all this, nobody is going to sit here tonight and say forget about the rules. That's not the point. But if you can operate if you know what the rules are.
Yes.
There you go.
If you know what the rules are, then you're able to operate.
Let's be accountable. If you're a patron going to the bar and you've been traveling, you've been associated with somebody who was traveling, don't go out. If you're feeling sick, don't go out. And for God's sakes, give people some room if they need to get to the bathroom, they need to get to the bar. Wear your mask. When that became a rule, we were adhering to it all the time. It didn't always look like it online, but we were very careful, very safe, because guess what? We don't want to get this pandemic ourselves. We don't want to get
Fair
sick.
enough. And I do want to point out, as Dave's saying, that we see a lot of people logging in, but what we really want to see is we want to see some comments, we want to see some questions, and we're happy to answer them. The email's scrolling across the top there, Barstools Bullpen.
Yeah, please, if you have any ideas, like they say, we don't have all the answers. We barely have any. We only have questions, answers ourselves.
There's 110 years of experience between the three of us here now. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, but this is our first pandemic. Here's the thing: in 1918, when this Spanish flu pandemic happened. It was a 10-year process. It took them a few years to clear it, and then it took 8 more years of paranoia to subside. It was a 10-year process. I'm nearly 60 years old, and how much longer is my music career going to last? I'm being a little selfish here, but how long can this go on before our mental capacity starts to diminish, and then once again we're getting into the political side of this, where
It's okay.
the cure becomes as dangerous as the pandemic itself, right?
Sure.
And so there's got to be a way to work with the pandemic and not to try, because there's no 100% fail-safe way to do this except everybody lock themselves in a house or lock themselves away, and then that's not going to work, and it hasn't worked yet.
To your point, I mean, we talked about this when we first started talking about the show, and it kind of ties into Bill's Let's Talk Day too. It's the mental health of not just the patrons who appreciate music for a healing property. It's the folks like yourself. This is what you do for a living. Now, Sean and I do it part-time. This is what you do. It's what Kyle Boudreaux does. It's what Michael Lloyd does. These are the guys that need to do this. Jackie Smith, this is what they do for a living. If they don't have the opportunity to entertain, not only are they owed money, but there's that whole, mental health issue that's like, gosh, it's like if an entertainer can't entertain, they're going to go a little stark raving mad. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been talking about this. I don't want to start selling my tools to pay my mortgage. That wasn't the deal. You know, and if that starts happening, then the pandemic's over, and I don't have a guitar. And so that's not going to work for me either, right? So and then I get bitter because the people that are telling me to stay home don't lose their jobs.
That's a very good point.
Yep.
And I'm glad you touched on that, because I was thinking about that as you were going. So part of the conversation I've had repeatedly is that because what we do looks fun, it's not treated as an essential service. And I think the kitchen party proved that it is. I think that our platform,
service.
right? And so our non-essential service is basically living and dying by a bunch of people that haven't lost a paycheck. I don't want to pick on them, but
They get a big job. It's a hard job to do.
I don't think anybody wants the premier's job. I said it.
He certainly didn't ask to do the pandemic.
Right. There you go. But the thing is you can listen. And there's a lot of people that want to offer up some suggestions, and it just doesn't appear to a lot of people that I've talked to. Case in point, brought this up repeatedly. They were supposed to open on the 11th. They decided to open on the 4th of January. We had bar owners calling us asking what the rules were.
Yeah.
And
That was one of the reasons why we put this show together.
Right.
Because I was pissed off.
Yeah.
When I read that, because Dave and Darlene are the nicest people I know.
Yeah.
And when they had nowhere to go except to you guys, and you guys aren't experts. And there's another thing: you don't want to give out bad advice or fake news. I mean, even for this show, we got a fact checker here. You know what I mean? We're not about fake news, and you don't want to give them information and get them in trouble. It wasn't your job to do that.
Right.
But they had nowhere else to call.
Well, there's no resource, right? It's www.novascotia.ca /coronavirus. That's where you can find information. But at the same time, there was nothing there. It was a regurgitation of the original
of the last meeting that
yeah.
we saw, on TV. Yeah.
And it's just vague. And everyone was talking about, how many decibels are in a bar, and that had nothing to do with the bar. It was about being in a food court, but or in a mall. It was. Nobody knew, and there was no resource to go to.
Well, I'll throw this out there. So the information that they are getting out at their press conferences when they do it means something to somebody, because nobody on that panel is stupid. Nobody that's working behind the scenes is stupid.
And it's essential. And we need to be.
we do. No, we need it.
Yeah.
But the thing is that once it gets past that gate out into the public, that's where it gets confusing.
Yeah.
And there doesn't, to me, appear to be any huge need to want to make the message clearer, and maybe it's because they're just trying to get it out there, really, really quickly. But one of the things that I heard a number of times was, we're just helping them open up. It's up to them to decide how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
That's crazy, says the guy that hasn't lost a paycheck since it started.
And the guy that's trying to play by the rules because he's scared to get a hefty fine, and that's the other thing, like there's, you're under a lot of scrutiny. And there's people out there, there's the people that are issuing the fines, and I'm not trying to pick on them either, but there's a lot of... when this first started, there weren't enough inspectors to go around to make sure everybody was compliant.
Well,
and then you had people that, because to be an inspector, right, you need a certain degree or some sort of qualification.
What's the criteria? That's a good point.
If you're an animal control officer, you have that qualification. Okay,
That's interesting.
There were animal control people out there inspecting bars for infractions. Just because they met the criteria. And they really didn't know anything more about it than the person sitting there having a beer and didn't even know he was sitting in the wrong spot. So that confusion led to a lot of frustration, and rightly so. I mean, they're just trying to make a living and play. And you think of all the bars that are in Halifax. I mean, that's great. So Monty's, for example, they have 2 entrances. They have a nice big area. They can spread it all out. They're not making as much money, of course they're not, but they do it in a way that it's a comfortable environment and everybody felt safe. That's wonderful. But once again, you get some bars that are a quarter of the size, and at the best of times they don't, they need some sort of a capacity thing. And then when you're trying to like put arrows and stuff, it just seems so unfair that this happened to them,
What's tricky though, and Maurice, like Sean talks about this a lot, because when we go back to the mid-90s and what happened to the bar industry, well, you know what, you couldn't smoke in a bar anymore. And that agenda was really from a group of people who didn't like smoking. And that's fine. You don't like smoking, that's okay, we get it. But that really crippled that industry by a handful of people who didn't like the smell of cigarette smoke. Well, guess it totally changed the industry for our folks. So if we have an animal control person who's going around, inspecting bars,
Now,
and they
once
have
again-
no, I'm not picking on them.
No,
I
no,
mean,
no.
If they had a certain agenda against a specific bar or whatever, or
that's
maybe
right.
it was a pet owner that was bad or whatever.
could
So
be.
I have a
that
couple.
could
I
go.
have a couple comments here, but safe to say, this industry is probably, I don't want to say the most picked on, but it's the industry that is, it's expected to pivot
It's in the and
more
it's
than
always-
any industry out there.
That's a great way to put it. It's always on a pivot.
Yep.
And we're always trying to reinvent the wheel.
Absolutely.
We're always being the ones that have to do the adjusting.
We gotta
I remember with the smoking thing. That's a great point, because I remember back in the '90s when the smoking things changed. All the bars went out and spent tens of thousands of dollars on smoking rooms and in ventilation systems, and then 3, 4, 6 months later, the government says, okay, no more smoking at all, and there's no without any rebates, without any money coming.
right.
And once again, like time after time after time, the service industry got nailed. Now I know it sounds like we're crying, we're sore, it's our industry that got hit this time with the pandemic, and yeah, okay, so, and I don't want to sound selfish here, but I'm seeing. It doesn't seem like it's happening in a fair way all the time. It just seems like some people are and then and it depends on where you are, and that's another thing too. Like HRM, has a different set of criteria than
Right.
the outskirts, and you know what I mean, and that's difficult because there's other provinces, there's other countries.
That's right.
And we're all in it together, but we're all at different levels, and there's different kinds of things. There's some places that they treat it differently, and the outcome is what it is, but it's so hard to compare because everybody's going on. It's not one standardized way that the whole world had to deal with this, and people look at us, they go, "What are you complaining about?"
Yeah.
Because we got this Atlantic bubble thing that worked, and then even Nova Scotia, we got we got a couple of dozen cases total, and nobody's in ICU. So here we are complaining about the industry, but I'm complaining because I'm pretty much out of work, and I'm on the dole, on a pittance,
Yeah.
That's a fair statement.
and no one's reaching out to me saying, Maurice, we got an idea here. Well, let's just try this. It's always me having to figure it out for myself.
we
Got
talked about
a
this-
got a couple comments that I want to get
Excellent.
Yeah.
We
to.
got
So
some
Tammy
comments.
Mayo says,
Yes, I saw that.
I think anyone having a party of a max of 10 people should try and hire a musician to play. Everybody can pool their money together. They can discuss with the musician on what protocols they have in place. Everyone try and make it doable. And I think that's a great feedback. Lori Little says, has anybody looked into what other musical communities are doing to deal with restrictions? I understand that the circumstances aren't the same in every province, which you just covered.
Mm-hmm.
But there may be things that are learned from comparing notes. And, Lori, that's a good point, because
Excellent.
all we've been trying to do with this petition that we have on the whiteboard is get somebody to listen to some different points of view, right? So I think that's a key thing.
And have an expert.
And
Just, you know.
Andrew Lambert chimes in here too. He talks
Yeah.
about not wearing a mask is totally selfish. It's beyond just yourself. This whole experience will teach us many things. All three of you guys speak from the heart. It's all about money and truly not about money. At the same time, it's a true dilemma. Our industry will correct itself, but it will be painful. So this is what we talk about, the whole pivot and readjust and reinvent and go back and forth. And, it's the whole servo mechanism. It's going to bounce back and forth until you get to a straight line. But nobody knows where that straight line is. And all we want to do tonight and in the, the Barstools Bullpen is just bring up some ideas, bring up some topics, and let's just talk about it. That's, I'm so glad you folks chimed in there, and thanks so much for chiming in.
Yeah.
And keep it coming, because that's what we want to see through
exactly.
this hour.
And
right?
it's nice that Tammy chimed in because she actually approached me to do I'm doing a party for her coming up. And the good thing about I feel safe doing these parties. I don't know where those people have been, but
It's
I
a
do know.
valid
But I do
point,
know.
man.
But I trust her judgment, and I trust her judgment. And the people that she invites to her party, she's not going to invite an asshole to her party or a stranger that might compromise my safety and my for myself. So that's a very 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 cool thing to do. I mean, that's a honest. That's a right off the bat. We got to that's a good thing to do. And,
Do we know, is the rest of the country, I think the whole country's on the same pittance. Is that fair to say? So if you're
Yeah, because it's not exactly.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
it's not a living wage.
Let's call it a spade. It's
Right.
$2,000 a month. There's no rent here in
before tax. Yeah.
Well, there's no rent in HRM that's going to be under $1,100.
That's
I mean,
right.
You know, to
Yeah.
be for maybe
Well,
two
and the
people.
calendar year just rolled on December 31st, so an awful lot of people that have been collecting this. And think about this for a second,
Yeah,
okay?
maybe
We're
taxed
coming
on
up
that.
on March. It started in March.
Yeah.
It feels like it was 2 months ago, and I was talking to somebody about this today. We're almost a year.
Yeah. There was yesterday was a year from the first case that hit Canada. Actually, It was
Right.
a year
So it's going fast. But
Well-
the thing that's not slowing down are people's bills,
Nope.
people's rent. Talked to Dave McDonald over at Capital Sports Bar. When they shut down before Christmas, he had tapped 3 or 4 kegs or 5 kegs of beer. He had to throw them all out because he was just shut down.
And it
and-
kegs what? How much?
Well, it's hundreds of bucks.
Right.
I mean,
It's a
it's
few
his
$100.
profit. He's throwing his profit out. You know, and on top of not earning anything. You know,
So they can get a loan for 40 grand and they can pay it back.
it's a loan.
Exactly.
It's all it is. It's
It's not a grant. It's a loan.
Tammy Mail had absolutely, Maurice. None of us want to be compromised. Thank you for trusting me. So that's a
No.
very nice note.
Yeah.
She's such a sweetheart. She is.
You
She's
know
awesome.
who will be
She's
coming,
awesome.
right? And I mean, and again, that's
I
important.
know. I don't know who's going to be going there, but if she says they're
But
cool,
she does, yeah.
She does, and I mean, she's not going to. And that's what I mean. That's a. And here's the thing with Laurie, it's true. Like when you have different areas with different rules, it's really hard to say who's right and who's wrong. And then when somebody's worried about breaking the rules and getting a fine, and it comes right back. It comes back to the fact that we feel. I mean, I don't know, but I don't own a bar. I'm the entertainer. I'm getting it up the hoop too. But the restaurants and bars aren't out there trying to break the rules. They're trying to run their business. They don't want to get fined. You know what I mean? And I got to say, at first, there was a few bars out there that were kind of breaking the rules. I don't know if they were doing it on purpose, but they were trying to fumble their way through it. And I don't remember anybody getting serious, but a lot of people got shaken down pretty good. And
But there's no rules. That's the thing. Like
the
I
rules
had a
change every
conversation,
week,
with,
and you never know when what the new rule is.
talking to Mike Casey from Finbar today on the phone, and he said the same thing. I asked him, I said, what's your thoughts on this premature opening? He said, well, Dave, I couldn't do it. I said, I didn't have enough food there. I didn't have enough supplies in
That's
there.
right.
So he had to wait another 4 days to open up.
A lot of places delayed their opening.
Yeah.
Well, they had to. It was on a Monday.
Yeah.
They announced it on
Yeah.
the Friday.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do on a Sunday, Saturday? Go
So
get
you
your
had to contact staff, you had to
exactly.
get supplies, you had to get food, you
Yeah.
had to get beer. I mean, all that stuff had to happen.
Comment here from Colleen Duffy Ferguson, which I think is great. It's a petition, only an online petition, or could it be in the bars for the patrons to sign during the live shows? That's a great idea. I know that a lot of people that we've been talking to will do it because I mean I was talking to Dan Ladder today from Parkside Pub. We were at a show that they did on the weekend.
Yep.
It was great. It was quote unquote sold out, but there was only so many people at the table.
Felt
weren't-
super safe.
Yeah, it was really good, and that's another thing to point out. You talked about it, Mo, and you just said it, Dave. I didn't feel at all compromised during the first wave because everywhere we went, they were following the rules. Lori Little, the rules were never really clear and not consistent. Another great point.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the problem that everybody's dealing with.
To
right?
be fair, who's going to be the one who's going to police it? We've never had a global pandemic in our lifetime before. So,
No,
how do you know
that's
what
right.
to do? So all your points earlier, we're not trying to pick on the government by a stretch of the imagination. The idea of the petition was like, let's get more people who have more skin in the game, who have more boots on the ground, who are in it to win it. These are their livelihoods. It's not some kind of big conglomeration. It's Dave and Darlene McDonald. It's Dan Ladder.
It's the mom and pops.
It's the
It's the
folks
mom and
who they
pop,
have
yeah.
one or maybe 2 bars, and that's their livelihood.
Well, you know what? I'll say it because the petition, and I'll take full credit for it. It was my idea. So if
Good
it
for
does
you.
well, if it does great, we all take credit. If it does bad and everybody hates it, I'll put my hand up and gladly wear it. But it was about what you just said. It was about confusion. It was about the fact that nobody knew the rules. It was about the fact that it seemed to be changing. I take you back to June 5th when they were first opening.
Yeah,
That was a Friday.
we were down.
Might need our fact checker to confirm that, but I'm fairly sure it was a Friday. They had a Zoom call on, I believe it was the Wednesday, and there was a whole bunch of things that they were told they could do. And from my understanding, a lot of people on the Zoom call were like, where did this come from? So part of the issue this petition came out of is, I got an email from somebody from one of the departments that said, we're talking to hundreds and hundreds of people. Well, I talk to hundreds and hundreds of people. I guess we're not talking to the same people because they're not getting the same information. You come to find out they're talking to associations, which is fine. No issue with associations whatsoever. But you do have to go to the dude who's paying the bills, who might not make his rent, who's trying to figure out how he pays his staff, right? Those are the people you got to talk to. PEI is allowing concerts and organized events with restrictions and a maximum of 200 people effective February 16th. The bars are open until midnight. Live music, no dancing. Different from province to province. Brenda Rumson, great point. And I mean, they had the bubble going, and it was going really well. And now New Brunswick today announced midnight tonight. They're going back to orange in some of their zones, which is not going to save my gig at Dolan's this weekend.
Yeah. No.
However, I said
Poor
I was.
Sean. Sean has his phone, and every time he misses a gig, it dings. It's like just his face is.
Yeah.
It's
Well, that's why I
heartbreaking.
said that. It just dinged. So, but my point. Well, I said I was coming on rattle and cranky, so that was step one. But but my point is that as and I want to give a shout out to the fellows at Dolan's, Barry Hughes, Mikey, all the folks there. They opened up. They were following the rules in their province. Maurice, you've been there.
Yeah,
Great
they did
bar.
a good job. They did a good job.
Our home away from home, right?
And there was a couple times I even went to the bar and they had it set up a certain way, and I went oh, and they go yeah, and they were cool. They didn't give me didn't freak me out. They knew I just momentary lapse of reason, but you get the flow of the place figured out. And there's always a few people that didn't quite get it, but they did a good job, and they make you feel very comfortable, and they're not shaking you down. There was a couple people that, when you're in that environment, the bars, right, there's always one person that, and that's why bars are nervous, because an idiot can give them a pretty big fine, and by and large, the bars are all really good. And we're coming back to the safety issue. Like, you go to Dolan's and it's home. It's a nice, Barry, he's a great guy. He's not, I don't know what his personal beliefs are. I don't know if he's anti-mask, anti-vax. I don't know what he is, but I know he knows how to run a good bar and make everybody feel welcome, comfortable, and safe.
To be fair, though, Maurice, like these patrons that have gone to the same bar for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years to the same bar over and over again, they're used to watching live music and dancing. It's hard to go to a bar and sit in your chair and vibrate. I get it. I totally get it.
Well, that was the new thing, the chair dancing. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
The new chair dancing.
Was it a new thing? That's been going on for an awful long time. You played some of those bars too, right? So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. But to touch on Barry, we don't know what Barry, what his beliefs are, but I know he's pro musician because he is one.
Yeah.
Pro
He's
musician.
pro his staff, and he's pro his patrons that go there.
Yeah.
And a lot of these folks are that are doing this.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, the frustrating thing. And I mean, again, we want to see some comments come in. Sheldon Swinimer, love this chat.
He tipped chat. I can not get off topic with Sheldon. Thanks, dude. We would have got skunked last night, but
All
he
right, let's talk
tipped
about
their
that.
show.
Let's go right there, shall
And
we?
that's well,
let's
there
go
you
there. How are people getting paid via live stream?
Well, not very well. Not very consistently, right? Now, in all fairness, though,
Maurice came on the bus tonight. In case
okay. In all fairness, I didn't mean to bring this up, but it's a nice segue, Dave. Good
That's
job.
how I roll,
But you do. But the thing is like, there are people out there who are very accomplished. They're very like the recording artists that might have quite a body of work, sold plenty of records, traveled the country a few times, have built up a fan base from coast to coast, and when they do a live stream, they can sell tickets. Now, they're down in their income, but they can still have an income stream. They can sell tickets online. It's the trench workers, the people that have been playing bars, playing for years and years and years, and they're sunk. And I'm somewhere in that. I'm in that area. I'm resourceful, but at the same point, I don't have a body of work that's out there. I haven't traveled the country playing my songs. I don't have fans from coast to coast. So I'm starting right at the very bottom, and I'm working my way up. And I'm proud to do that. I'm not sitting here going like, oh, woe is me. I see this. There's going to be some potential. It lit a fire. I mean, I've been writing songs and recording and getting together with lots of people. I see how it is an income stream, how it can be. It's going to take a lot of work. But as far as actually just, okay, so now what am I going to do? Well, I'm not making any money. I'm not making any money doing it. And some nights I've done some shows like concerts and the tips come in. The problem is it's like busking. Mm-hmm. It's basically busking, which is cool.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. That was
it's
my
busking. It is busking. But the thing is, you have how many, if I do a show once a month I'll do okay. But if I run a weekly show or if I have a regular gig online, it's you're going to find that people that'll tip you one time, you need to build up a fan base. It takes a lot of work to do
But you
that.
know what,
Right?
Sean and I talk about this an awful lot, and you're not paying for that one performance. You're paying for the life that you have spent building a career as a musician.
That's right.
And all the sacrifices that you made along the way. This is how you can pay back somebody. You watch a show, you freaking pay them.
Yeah.
And I remember watching the Buskers and feeling so dirty almost. You're like, you can't just give $2. You're going to give $10. Like, geez, man, it's like you're
really
begging for money. Here's $2. Be happy. But at the same time, I watched them for 10 minutes. I'm watching you for 2 hours. Your time is worth 10, 15, $20.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? I thought that whole thing about the experience was mine until I rewatched Hired Gun the other night, and Phil X was on there, and he talked about somebody asking him to play on one of his tunes. And he said, I'll do it for free if I love it. I won't do it for any money if I hate it. And basically, when somebody questions me, you're not paying for that song. You're paying for my blood, my sweat, my tears.
That's
and a lot of people don't realize that, right? We talk about all the time. Somebody does a wedding, and they book the hall, they book the caterer, they book the food,
and they get $300
book the limo.
left over.
Yeah, hey, I got $300. You want to play my wedding for exposure?
Or hold the crowd.
Right. I've been very lucky in the frequency that we did 6 weddings last year. We were very well paid for them. Everybody doesn't have
they're
that
a lot
benefit.
of work.
A lot of work.
People say, how come the photographer costs so much? How come the band costs so much? How come the caterers cost so much? And I mean, it's because it's their special night. You only get one chance at making it good for them, and so they hire people that they know aren't going to let them down. And the people that they hire aren't going to let them down. Don't make. It's not like I show up at 6 o'clock, do the gig, and pack up and go home. I start the day before planning this thing, and I get and that's what we do. I mean, we take it's a big deal. So
this is your job.
It's your job, and they hire you because they know you can do that. If they want a $300 band, they know what they're going to get.
That's right.
Right. And
Sheldon Swinimer.
Yeah,
he's chiming in. Sheldon, keep it coming. And that guy, I played Brewster's last year, and he came out. He's one funny guy. He's a very talented guy.
Yeah, he plays everything.
He does. Multi-instrumental.
I love the way he cleans up a Telecaster.
He does. And he says, I feel so bad for the road warriors out there. I've never really did music full time. So to say, well, it's not entirely true. Back in 2015, 2016, I did. I always found it very hard for a session guy to succeed. I know some that do well, but I feel so bad. I hope you all guys are doing okay. And that's a very nice note. And
thank you, Sheldon.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and he's a guy, to your point,
he tipped us
supports
last night.
He supports it.
Here's Dean Beharner, too. Same thing. I'm not sure if this sounds right, but I'll say it. If I go to see someone play anywhere, so this Friday, for example, is Gypsy, and it's $20 for the show. I'm okay with that. Why not help bars, too, by bringing in 1 or 2 musicians charging $0 to $5 entry or some sort of amount to help. The money goes to help the musicians in the establishment. Does that sound fair? I love live music, and it's like weekly.
He's actually he's a supporter too. He's come to see me play a few times, and he cheers my night up too. And people drop money in my trip. He's one of those guys. I have a tip jar when we play live.
Straight up, guys. And, if you have not been affected by this pandemic and you love live entertainment, then you know what? Pay.
But you know what the problem is? Here's the problem with the live streaming. Well, first of all, I do my show on a Monday night. I picked a Monday night because I knew that I'm going to be back to work, and I enjoy my live stream. I didn't get into it. I knew that I wouldn't make much money at it, but I'm trying to get the viewership up because I'm going to go for the sponsorship angle eventually, and I'm working that way now. And I know that, and I'm not looking to get rich. If I can make $150, $200, whatever I'd make playing the pizza shop, that pizza town down the road, and they treat me well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I can get that at the end of the night and bring a guest in every week, and then they can make some money and walk away with some swag or something like from our sponsors, I feel like, well, that's kind of a cool new way to do a trench working gig. Because I call all these gigs trench. I call myself a trench worker.
Sure you are.
Working at like Pizza Town or Beaverbank Station or anywhere where you work a night, make $100 or $200.
But you get it, Mo, because you're about reciprocal. I mean, you're not going to do it once. You're going to do it many times. And if you go in there and get all the money and leave in the place in a heap, you're not coming back.
No, but the thing is, you're looking at. I try to look at the long game, right? And if I build the show up and I get consistent, Jeff Bonang, he's one of those guys. He picked a night, and it's just he just went on and on and on. And every week he would go on. People got used to seeing him. But here's the thing: what I was getting at, what I was trying to get to, is when you're scrolling the phone and you're watching along, and there's all these people doing live streams. If you stay for more than 10 seconds, you're kind of like, hope he didn't see that I'm on here.
Yeah, yeah.
No, because he has a
Or that I left.
no, because they they usually have a pay me a tip jar or something like that. Everybody uses a virtual tip jar, but it's so easy just to go. Whee. But if you stay there for 5 or 10 minutes and you start enjoying the music, it's like, if it's $2, just throw a tip down, right? And it's so easy just to keep on scrolling or watch it for a half hour and say, hi, guys. I got lots of people who don't tip me, but they might have tipped me once. I don't forget that.
Well, think about this in very basic terms. If you did a live stream on Barstools and everybody tipped you $1,
I hear you.
You would get over $5,000 for your live stream.
Well, right now we're getting about somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 views a show. And I'm not, like I said, once again, I'm going to target. Once I get the numbers up, we're getting there now.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys got quite a nice, like you got lots of subscribers on YouTube. I push you guys like crazy.
We appreciate it. Buddy.
And it's on my show every week. But the thing is like once you have enough people on there, then some of the sponsors will come approach you because it's becoming a bit of a hit.
Yep.
And they'll approach you, and that's when you're getting somewhere. It's so much work, and it's the money isn't like we're not. This isn't big money we're talking, right? No. I want to pay my mortgage. I live in the smallest house in Windsor Junction. And my bills aren't that high, but I'd like to earn those bills. Last year when our first lockdown, they put us on. The CERB came up, and I had that for a couple of months, and then all of a sudden I did an online. We did a drive-in concert for Sackville Patriot Days for the high school graduation that we were hired and contracted to do. Me and Chad Lindsay and a couple of us to put the show together, and I did that, and I did 2 Zoom corporate events, and I made a few bucks, right? And it was really good. And I was like, hey, this is a way to go. But it's not like there's probably people that have been doing that all along that have a bit of a market built up, but I'm late to the dance and all that. But I made enough money that I busted out of CERB.
Right on.
Right? So I only had it for a couple months, and I thought I was making less money with the work I was gathering.
That'd make you a CERB survivor.
But I was so much happier not being the government's bitch.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
CERB survivor.
Because when you're sitting at home, when they pay you $500 a week before taxes, and of course you're $400 or whatever it is, blah blah blah. They give you that money to stay home, and you stay home. I mean, like if you're going out there and you're going to bitch about the masks and all that, and you don't want to do this, and and my personal liberties and all that, well, give the money back, and then go out there and do what you want to do.
Yeah,
right?
That's a good point.
So I got off, but I'm respectful. I'm going to be a good citizen, and I got off and that, and I felt really good. That I thought, hey, I'm clawing myself out of here. I'm doing gigs with, and not only that, the new arrangement I was doing, like my duo gig, I'd have Leaf with me one week, and I'd have all these great musicians, and I made a point. I didn't have a established duo at this point, but I was in a bubble at the ale house with the 8 of us, and I'd pick from the pool.
That's right.
So I'd call Leith, did you work last week? No. Okay, you're on this week.
That's cool.
And
That's the kind of
So I called Jordan.
Though,
Jordan,
right?
when's the last time you did a gig? I didn't play for the last 2 weeks. Okay, let's come this Sunday night.
Sure.
And they all know my songs, and I'm sharing my work around. It's the village,
And you know what? I love that term. You said that a few times this week, and it takes a village to survive this pandemic.
Being an individualistic right now is it's not the time to let your ego run away with you right now, because I was humbled with CIOE. I dropped off some music with Ron James, and I was bragging up. I was piping myself up. So, I've been writing all these songs, recording all these songs. What like this thing really made me buckle down and do all this. He says, "Yeah, you and everybody else."
Yeah. Little bit of feedback here, guys.
Excellent.
Lori Little.
Yeah,
I don't
very
think
good
there's a
point.
problem with paying a cover charge, which I'm a believer too, in some senses of the word.
And these are the baby steps to get back.
Absolutely. Chris Eisner says, "Hey guys, miss you. I hope to see you soon."
Yeah.
Tammy Mayo is weighing in again. She says, as someone who loves watching bands and missing it too, I have no problem paying the cover. Lori Little, I have left the live streaming to the guys like Maurice. I'm a weekend warrior, I believe. What's he say? I believe leaving that revenue stream open for the full-time guys that have lost the most money makes sense. And you know what? That's an admirable thing
It
too.
sure is. I just that was really cool,
That's
Lori.
thank you. And I don't feel that he has to do that, but if that's how he feels, he's being part of the village.
Well, here's Sheldon again here,
Yeah,
too.
Sheldon.
Here's my thing. Maurice has been an example for at least 20-plus years of playing experience, rocking nature, and why wouldn't I tip a show? He's interacting and he's communicating with patrons online, plus he's sharing his talent with everyone. That's worth it for me. Furthermore, he says supporting local talent is so Where to go here? So detrimental to future success. I personally think COVID has brought musicians together. Very good point. It's not a cutthroat industry anymore. Barstools and Band Talk have been really keeping this together and bringing us musicians together. Well, thank you for that.
Well, while we can highlight Mr. Maurice Aucoin, recent birthday boy, I said this to him a lot. So I played in Caper for 12 years. We played all over the place. That broke up. Had a little combo called Frankie Deuce, and guys kind of went their own way. I went from playing 30 shows a year to probably playing 6.
Wow.
Wasn't playing a lot. I get a call out of the blue from Maurice. Hey, can you do this gig? And he sent me the set list 3 or 4 days before. It was the Fleet Club. Yeah. And credit the man for getting me back in the game because I
didn't know you were that far out of the game. I thought you had just played the week before with Scott or something.
No, and you know what? And true story. And then what happened was through that, I got a call from Kyle. So, but my point is every time I play with Maurice, he'd take me aside. This is what you're getting. Here's your money. And it was a great situation, and so I think that's why you're so well respected because you treat people the right way.
I share the stage. I want as many people. This show that I do, I'm not on here to talk about my show. We got other things to talk about, but it's tied in the fact that the reason why I'm doing this, it's a dream come true. It's not even about the money now, and I have no problem getting people to come on the show. People are calling me now, and some people are going to be on my show, and you know. And but it's the village is growing.
Yep.
And we get to talk about our own struggles, our musical struggles, and all that. And you get to realize that it's going to take it. You can't do it by yourself, especially now. And then you strike up a relationship with somebody that you've orbited around because we've always followed each other around circuits and stuff. And then you found, like I was talking about that with Kyle. Like, Kyle, when's the next time we're going to do a gig together? We're both the lead singer of a band. Yeah. And here we are spending 2 hours losing track of the time, having a blast.
Right.
And
that was a great show.
It's a motivation thing. It's to keep me and like he needed that. Like we left the show. I said, man, I wish I could pay you, because it's a gig. It is a gig, and he needs the money like everybody else. He says, but my mom was over the moon.
Yep,
she
100%.
loved the show, and he just felt that was just worth it just for her to see me play. Because I asked him a question. I guess it was a little more sensitive than I expected a better answer, but I asked him a question about, so what have you been doing during the pandemic? And he didn't have a very good answer. He's like watching TV. Like he kind of got caught up in the funk a little bit. And anytime he could do something like this, playing the gig at Monty's, he's so stoked to do this stuff, right?
Yeah.
We talked about that, man. It's like if you don't have that opportunity to entertain as an entertainer, you're
losing.
Lost.
Your soul is it's part of your soul being ripped out.
And not only that, I mean, where does it go from there? Like, so maybe it's a case where you get that far into a funk where maybe there's substance abuse, there's marital breakdown. Who knows? Like, who knows where it can go? So it's important that, and we focus a lot on entertainers and musicians, but it's not just them. It's the business owners. It's the wait staff. It's the folks who are supplying these products to the bars and services.
And I think that's the thing. People are saying, hey, well, put us all on some sort of a benefit, and then send us home, and then you guys come back to work whenever. But man, it's a damn essential service.
Yeah.
It's not just an essential service it's an essential service for me.
Yep.
Yep. I don't want to be forced out of my job. I mean, I don't like fishing industry has been through it, the forestry. I mean, like, I know it's the miners, when they close down a mine, and there's a guy, he's my age and he's mined his whole life. What's he going to do, The one thing is that my job has never paid a whole lot. I did it for the love.
Yeah.
You don't ask a miner if he ever loved his job. No, he loved his family.
Yes.
I love my work. And it's like, it seems so, once again, not sounding selfish, but dude, when you don't make a whole lot of money and you do something, you forsake. Money doesn't drive me. It doesn't drive most musicians, but the love of making music does. And when I'm being relegated and they're saying, hey, well, whatever, which is why we have to. This is it's such an important industry to get back up and running again, and of course, like you said, it's not just the guys, myself. It's you got people that they're selling drinks in bars, and your food, and you got the guys in touring that they're doing tours. The big guys,
I posted that Rush video that I just found by mistake the other day, and it's like, oh my God, that was really depicted what a live tour would be like. And now again, from a smaller scale, we see it here, but that was 40 guys full time,
40
on
people.
On 7 tractor trailers. This is what they did, 18-hour days, 15-hour days every day. Now, that's just, the road crew. Not alone the folks that are loaders at the venue that they're at, the spin-off business to the restaurants and the bars afterwards from watching a big show like that, a Rush show or a concert or whatever it is. We had Andy DeVoe on here. We had a lot of folks that we talked to. Who just Mark Horton, who just
It
don't
blows
get a
me
chance
away
to do
how
that
big,
stuff anymore.
like people that are way up in the industry are from here. You know
Oh,
what
yeah.
I mean? It blows me away. Like, you know, they
For sure.
you know.
So one thing, get political for a second. So
do it, man.
So there's 3 people that are vying for the premier's job. And if you're on Facebook, you see the sponsored ads. All 3 of them have released their platforms. There's not been one thing from any of them about what they're going to do to revive this industry when it comes back. I know that if you're a property owner, you're not allowed to raise your rent, and they've got that in there. But for whatever reason, this whole deal's being ignored, and I don't get it.
Yeah, you know, there's certain things that could be looked at, but the government there's a few solutions. I've been doing a little bit of research, folks. I'm no expert here, but and I'm going to drop a name because I don't think he'll mind. Stephen Wallislow is a very dear friend of mine. He moved to Toronto a few years ago. He took to get into the because he's an actor. And the acting industry is a lot bigger up there and more robust.
Used to be good here.
He used to be good here, but he drifted away up there with more opportunity, and he had a hard time getting going, but he got himself going. And then last year the pandemic happened. A year ago, can you believe this?
Yeah.
Anyways, he came home and he stayed home for most of the summer, and he went back up, and they're locked down. Okay, now he called me. My band did a little live stream the other night, and he watched the show, and he tipped me $20. Thank you, right on. There you go. But he called just to say hi, and that the show was really good, and he was entertained and all that. And he started telling me, he says, man, it's the first he hadn't had any time off. He's been working so much up there that blowing up. He's having the best January he's ever had since he moved up there working. I said, how the hell are you doing? The city's in lockdown. He says, because of rapid testing. And what's happening up there is the acting when you're working on a set up there and they're doing movies, you can't just fake a crowd. And you see some, they're pretty crafty. They have six people on set, but they try to make you think it's in a busy area. But they have their ways to do that. But honestly, what they do, they have closed sets. And they have their 20, 30 people on set. But what they do to keep it safe, because you're not allowed to do that typically, they have somebody who's got the training or the course or whatever they got to do. There's somebody there that's administering rapid testing. And then you sit in your trailer, you test negative, and then you're good to go for the day. Just don't leave the property. And they do all the stuff, and you can interact and get into fist fights and whatever they have to do, or do stunts. Or he does background. He's a background actor. But the rapid testing is a game changer. Now, the thing is, the government doesn't pay for that.
Well, we looked at before. The cost is $5 US for a credit card.
It's not very much.
Yeah.
But what it is, the government has no interest at all in setting up rapid testing. It's up to the private sector to do that. Now, if the government is going to send me home for $400 a week and put me out of work, I think it would be a lot cheaper for someone to pay $5 to let me in a room with another 50 people that all just tested negative a half hour ago with me. Now I can go in the mosh pit.
Right. That makes sense.
One would argue, though, is it perfect? Well, no.
No, it's not perfect. But as a mask and sanitizing your hands at the front of the store, they're all effective.
Yeah.
But nothing is 100% effective. But I'm saying if you can have a restaurant or a bar that has a little holding area and you want to go at the supper, just come 20 minutes early. We'll administer a little test.
Listen, that part of it really ticked me off. And we made friends with Little McPherson this year, too, who has, two great bars in the Wood Monkey in Halifax and Dartmouth. It's, again, a struggling business owner in these unprecedented times. But in that same time, you're at the whatever, take a drink. At the same time, you could go to the food court at the Halifax Shopping Center.
I know. Randy
and
told
I'm
me it's
telling
my
you,
house.
man,
Yeah.
it was like they were right on top of each other.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you have two different standards for that?
That's another standard. Double standards. That's right. But my point is that the rapid testing, we developed a vaccine in a year.
Mm-hmm.
It should have taken 2 years, upwards of 2 years. And they rushed it through in some miraculous way. The scientists found and now we have a $5 test. So, but you have to be a certain medical qualification. Well, I'm sure there's somebody out there can take the course, right, and do the course, and then have a little sanitized booth. I mean, if you can build a smoking room, or if you can build this, or you can build glass panels,
Jesus,
you
man,
can
those
build a room.
those little plexiglass panels. We were talking to some barn owners. They're upwards of $800 to
I
$1,000
hear
to
you,
$2,000 to
absolutely.
$5,000
But if they
for
can
these
do
little
that, then
plexiglass
they can
panels.
build a little. They can have just board off. So yeah, it's a 15-minute wait. So you go in there and you have your capacity. Whatever. And I know I would feel just as safe if I went into a room. Like the night that you guys went to see, it was you guys that was playing over at Dave Doolittle's. It was a lovely night. Everybody was distanced, but everybody was having a good time. And by and large, everybody felt safe.
Yep.
They had a great time, and everybody was being respectful with their masks. And and that's the thing. And I want to feel safe. I want the people that I'm around feeling safe. And I don't want to feel like I'm being compromised. I don't want some stranger I don't know spitting on me. I never did before. But seriously, if you go into a restaurant or a bar and you can do a rapid test that's going to cost $5, well, okay, I'll pay $10 for the cover charge. Okay, $5 is the test. The other $5 goes towards the cost of a cover charge or whatever price you pick. I don't care if it's $20. But if I can go there, wait 15 minutes in a room with other people, blah, 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 and then the room, you have to stay in the line up outside till these people are let in and the test. Well, then if you have 100 people in the room that just tested negative, okay, that might be a flaw, maybe a false positive or something, but you've already got their phone number and you got an itemized group of people together. You should be able to contain that.
Could they dance?
We should be able to have a mosh
On that
pit.
night, I don't know why not.
On that night, you should be
Yeah.
able to hug one. You should be able to, like I said, everybody's been proven safe.
Right.
And then next week you go out and you do the process again. So, but the government hasn't really said anything about that. It's like it's relegated to the private sector. It's a business cost. It's passed off. But I mean, why wouldn't the government be really happy to that would be a much better deal, I would think.
I don't know what just happened there, but
Oh yeah.
so
Probably in the wall.
is it? I want to shift gears a little bit.
There we go.
I wanted Dave to come back and say plexiglass panels again, but maybe we'll do that after.
Yeah, we'll do that. That's my point. I had
yeah.
to get that one off my chest.
But one of the things we're talking about getting this industry moving again, and something that's been brought up to me. So you mentioned you get, we'll call them the A-listers, and you have the B-listers just kind of reside in the middle, and then the C-listers. And it was brought up to me that people are out there taking any old gig for any old money because they want to play.
Yeah.
And so it's really kind of upsetting the apple cart. And I don't want to say anything to affect what you're going to say, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as, a guy that's out there trying to sing for a supper.
Well, we've always had that issue's been going as long as ever. I mean, that's what I remember being starting off in this business. There was always somebody out there willing to play for nothing.
Yeah.
That's never going to change. And I've always dealt with it because I've never been the full price guy. I don't put that much pressure on myself. I'm not saying I don't know what my value is, but I know what my value is to me. And
you know what your value is not.
And I know, and it's not quite as bad as it used to be in a lot of cases, because a lot of places we're playing for. I know what you're getting paid because I'm getting paid the same amount.
Right.
I'm playing the same rooms, and we're all getting paid the same. Barry Hughes is very upfront about that. He pays what he pays. I go through an agent quite a bit, and I pay the agent out of my pocket. I don't charge Barry for the agent's fee. I pay it out of my pocket as a respect to my agents. I have a good relationship with them. Some bars will go direct to the artist, whatever. They offered that to me, whatnot. So in that respect, I don't really find that much of an issue. What's happening though is that the mentality that's going to be developed with us going online and playing for free and all that, right? There's absolutely no standard anymore. I can't say, well, okay, I'll play online if I can get X amount of dollars, because I could very well make nothing. And
Right.
so that's where it's a little tough. The online there's no way to police that, or there's no way. But once again, I think you'll notice that the people out there that don't charge enough, they've never really been a problem to me, because people hire me because they like Maurice Aucoin. And that's one of the reasons when I left the music union years ago, I left them in great standing. There's no problem there. I just felt that the way it was set up, it was great if you're a session worker, or if you're in a studio, or if you work for CBC, but the guys at the bar driving a 5-ton truck around with a bunch of lights and a big old Martin PA, and paying for your own gas and your own U-Haul and all this stuff, and then you're being paid a union fee. And the union fee is based on what you're supposed to put in your pocket, not what you're supposed to charge the venue. So I just found that it didn't really matter to me. So we never worked for a union scale. We always had a price that worked for us. And we always made do. And I never really worried about people undercutting me because I still got work.
Sure.
But there are guys out there that don't value themselves perhaps as much as someone else, or there's somebody that can that drives a fancier car that needs to make more money, or there's a guy out there that doesn't. It's so subjective. I've never really worried too much about it. I don't think it's changed much, but the online thing is a lot different because, well, like I said, there's a lot of us online, and people are scrolling through. Oh, so and so is online. That's right. Okay, and then off they run again, right? So it's a whole new way of trying to attract their attention, and you're basically we're busking now. And I've accepted that.
We're getting some good feedback that's coming in.
That's
I'll back
good.
it up a little bit here. George L. Wolf, Lori Little, I think a cover charge. Oh, I messed it up. I think a cover charge is a great way for a bar to generate a little extra.
A lot of bars we're always scared to have a cover charge.
Bands should be paid a minimum, agreed upon ahead of time, and it's the club's job to bring in enough to make a profit. It's called an advertising budget. No bartender would work for free. Why should we? Good point.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, George. This is Lori talking. I don't work without a minimum. A couple people are watching. Greg Sinclair, and this is another different spin, so let's get it out there.
Yeah.
We played for the door several times, and we don't make enough to pay one guy, never mind the entire band. So that's kind of another spin on the minimum, which, in these unprecedented times.
It sets a new standard, which is kind of scary.
It does. So I'll tell you, Nancy at Monty's made a point to me where Barstools was the first one, the live show. We sold tickets and we hustled to sell them.
You hustled. You worked hard to sell
did.
them. Yeah.
And it started a little bit of a tsunami, if you will, that other people started doing it. And her line was that she felt that the bands were just as engaged as she was to try to get the venue booked, which I thought was a cool angle. Not once did she say, "Oh, I'm going to just go to that model," but she liked that. I think
you put the legwork in too, right?
Right, you do, and you kind of if
A
you
lot
know
of
what
bands
you're
don't
getting.
though. A lot
No,
of
you're
bands
You know
don't.
what? I'm listening, looking at Scott, and see, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you. But at the same time, Scott Robichaud makes a good point here too. It shouldn't be the band's job to bring in a crowd. You have to be involved. You have to be engaged. But I mean, what happened to the advertising budget? What happened to Notebook? You know what I mean?
I think
what
that
about a
works
site like
downtown.
ours? Like, what if you were to advertise on Barstool, since they had, here's what's going on, and people would know about it? Because it just seems to be, if you're not subscribed to Maurice's page, you don't know where Maurice is playing.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of it, right?
It's a good point, but I think the yin to the yang is, I mean, we all know this. We've seen bands that have come in from out of town years ago that it's like, oh, they're from Raleigh, North Carolina, or they're from Toronto, and they expect this, and they go in and they're really outside of maybe a huge production, no better than what we would do in the basement.
In fact, that's why they're so far from home, because they're,
they can't get arrested in their own
well,
town.
yes, yeah, like they're running out of places to play. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that does happen. So the other, I know when Jack Butler played the Moon and they advertised, we always had good crowds. Some bars don't advertise. Word of mouth with social media, it does happen. I mean, I know the Persuaders, you advertise and you do your thing like crazy, and you guys get good.
It's not
crowds.
as easy as it used to be. I mean,
it's not.
Downtown is different downtown, because downtown it's a destination. People go drinking and they go to the bar, and so you actually don't have to really. When's the last time you put a poster up at the ale house?
When's the last time I had a poster? I mean, to break it
That's
down.
what I'm saying. But no,
right?
but in the burbs, it's a little different.
Sure.
And it's always been tough. It's always been tough to pull a crowd. But getting back to what we were talking about earlier, like Monty's, for example, they're a great example, because it's a prime example of what we're talking about here. And I'll tell you, Dave Doolittle as well. And those guys actually renovated the bar, anticipating good things when it reopened. And it was tough to do when you're closed down and not making it. And they pay rent, right? But when they reopened, people were so starved that you could have a juggling monkey up there, and somebody wants to go see it just to see it for real. You know what I mean? And it really, and the thing, so people realize. So what I'm worried about is, I'm not worried about it, but like we all talk the talk. You know what I mean? Everybody loves live music, and they want live music, and they'll tip for live music. And that. But once you have live music again, is to go back to the way it was, where people just take it for granted again, right? They don't know they don't know how much they love it until they don't have it, right?
Early on, we had a conversation, a two-part conversation with Jeff Homener who was the owner of the Misty Moon, and he said point blank, in these times, I won't say unprecedented, but in these times, he'd be 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks max, and he'd be out of business. Because his rent was ridiculous back in the late 80s, early 90s, $15,000-$20,000 a month for rent, and he put his books out there on our show, and talked about what he paid for the bands and what the whole gamut. He put it all out there. It's a great interview if folks haven't seen it, but it's different now. It's different because people don't. You couldn't have a bar like the Misty Moon today. There's no way you would put 1,200 people in a bar today.
No, it's hard to do.
It is
There
hard to
are
do.
some places,
But what changed though? Like what happened?
Well, I mean, distractions. I mean, there's more online content than ever been before. I remember we went through this. Oh man, I've been playing in bars since 1980, and the VCR was a terrifying sight.
Wow, it's good.
It really was. You can rent a movie and stay home, and or watch and it was like a distraction from. Well, you have to go out and I have to get drinking and driving and all this. I'll just stay home and blah 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 blah. And then MTV started, and all of a sudden you had. I remember when I grew up, there was 3 TV stations, and now there's 300, and there's less to watch. But there's the distractions.
That's a good point.
And there's so many more things that pull your attention away. There was one thing back when I first started. I remember every single bar in town had a lineup every weekend because that's what people did.
That's right.
And then so now we're all struggling. We're all trying to get a smaller piece of the pie. And then the pandemic just kind of like, right? And then I really would like to see us get something out of this tonight. And I don't want us just to sit here and talk in circles and not get anywhere and come up with any ideas. But we got to somehow instill upon people how music isn't something that is, you can take it for granted, but you shouldn't. How many people nobody buys records anymore, and why would you when you can go on YouTube and watch it for free? You know what I mean? I don't have a playlist on Spotify, but people that do that and they buy it, I applaud them. Thanks. Pay $2, buy the song and call it your own. You know what I mean? Lovely. I think that's a wonderful thing to do. I haven't bought records in years. Really, I've been making my own, music, but still, I'm not because I bought records from my friends, and I've done that. I got a nice a CD collection of friends' music, and I give them my copy, and we do that kind of stuff. And but the point of it that I'm making is that the money that we're making was never great, and now that we're making no money, everybody wants it for free. You know what I mean? It's like...
Well, we had Darby Mills on the program early on, and Darby is a bona fide rock star. She's selling jewelry on the side now just to survive. It's hitting
Darby
everybody.
Mills. Yeah, Darby Mills.
You know what I'm saying? So it's hitting everybody, and we all have to kind of dig in whenever we can.
Absolutely.
Right?
Steve McCall had a neat comment here. Actually, I don't want to miss anybody. Scott Robichaux, us bands can only advertise so much these the days now. I think he's meaning clubs don't put our post up until 2 days before the show.
Absolutely.
It's not fair. We work hard to play music, and we spend a lot of money doing it on equipment, but people don't see the work that we put in, and that's a very good point. Steve McCall says, when COVID is over, it will be the same as when the Spanish flu ended after 2 years of quarantine. The roaring 20s. People will be very happy to socialize. I think that's probably a good point. We saw it after the...
I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
Well, we saw it the first night it opened, June 5th. Dave and I went
Yeah.
downtown. We could not believe Argyle Street. It was...
Yeah.
There was a buzz. We were like...
I get hair on my arms because it was
There wasn't
so
a lot of people.
Desolate. It was so sad downtown. You saw me walking around town by myself. With my phones, like, here's where the bars used to be. And that June 5th, you could just feel the excitement, the buzz in the air, and people were laughing again. It was really nice to see, right?
I played Pizza Town that weekend.
We were there.
And it was really funny because usually it takes me 40 minutes at the most to set up a gig. I was there all day because I set up a live stream. I was so excited. I want to share it with the world. You know what I mean? That's how I felt.
Yeah.
I didn't make a whole lot of money. In fact, what they paid me, I think what happened is after the pandemic, they kind of worked out a deal with us because they had the crowd was a lot. They didn't have as much seating capacity and all that. But the point was just to have that was such an important thing, and they had no problem selling out. And I did this, and I was so proud to say, hey, I'm here, and I made commercials and I did ads on Facebook, and I don't remember doing any of that before the pandemic started. I made posters and told everybody, and you'd see it, Maurice is playing somewhere, he's scrolling through and it was ads, but then, but you brought up a really good point, and when the bars expect the bands to do all the work promoting, they call you a lot of times they call me, hey, the Persuaders open, we'd like to get you guys in. Cool. And I'd send them posters. And I'd advertise on Facebook to tell people we were there. And, you do what you can, and you let your friends know. And, there was, you have your core group of fans that might follow you and all that. And then you go to the bar, and there's no posters. And they're still in a tube rolled up on his office. And he didn't put the posters up.
Yep.
But they called me. I didn't knock on their door. You know what I mean? And so there's a responsibility on both sides. But I'm not here to shit on them about this right now because we're all in the same boat now, right? We're both on the same side of the fence right now. They want to be able to sell beer, and we want to be able to play there and help them sell it. And there's got like this rapid testing thing. I've been thinking about this ever since Steve told me this. He said he's never had such a busy month in a city that's locked down. How come, you go to the food court in Micmac Mall, and it's just like business as usual.
Yeah.
Sobeys in Fall River. I just lost some sound here. They got it now. I can see
All right.
it. Okay,
So-
we're fixed. Everybody's rolling.
That was just a little something that we wanted to do just to make sure that everybody was still there, and they were.
We're still a little bit Trailer Park Boys, but
Yeah. So while we're back, let's those numbers again, because some people are bringing up some neat things. What does Jason McCorson need some Benny Hill music on while you guys scramble?
Yeah, that's okay. I know we didn't.
You know what, Jason? If you didn't come up with that awesome logo, I would have some words for you, sir. 888-429-8167, Nova Scotia Mental Health Crisis Line, 800-669-6868, Kids Helpline, and June 28th, which is a Thursday, Bell Let's Talk Day.
Here's another thing too. We're getting back to like when I'm in a restaurant. And this isn't about me being a musician. This is about me going out in society. We've gotten to the point where it took a while, but most of us, whether we like it or not, begrudgingly or no matter what, we put on our mask. We sanitize our hands when we first go into a restaurant or a store or anything like that. We've kind of gotten used to that.
It's true.
And I may not catch a cold this winter, so I think it's not 100%, but it's something that we're all starting to get used to doing. So if I don't want to do that, there's enough people out there that probably just wish I didn't just go there, find someplace or go to a place. Now, I hate to get political, but John at the Hell is Lunch, I wouldn't say he's frustrated, and there's a lot of people that believe and feel the way he believes. And if people feel that way and they're suspicious of authority and they're suspicious of of medical advice and all this stuff, there's enough people that feel that way. Well, you guys can stick together. I mean, I don't really want to divide us. I want us to bring us together. But the thing is, if we're going to go to a restaurant, I just want to feel safe. And if I feel safe and I know that the guys give me enough space and blah, 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 we wear masks and all, we should be able to go there and come home feeling that I'm not going to be sick tomorrow.
I'm sure there's enough conspiracy theorists out there. There's enough anti-vaxxers out there. There's enough people who feel strongly about whatever they're feeling, but we're all human. And it's true. We're all in this together. Yeah. So, whatever it takes, if it takes wearing a mask, if it takes isolation, if you've been away, don't go the frig out, man. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't lick the doorknobs. Just be smart about the whole thing, right?
And that's what I mean. Not all bars are laid out the same way. Some places are small. Like, for example, like common sense, like, if we could just think that way, like there's some bars I can't possibly stay 6 feet away from somebody, but I'm not going to lean over and breathe in his ear either.
That's fair. There's an element of common sense and an element that you don't need somebody that's in a government position to tell you the right thing to do.
I get it.
I tell you what I didn't like during this whole thing. I didn't like that whole double standard behind, hey, here's Dave and Darlene McDonald with the Capital Sports Bar, that they're not essential, yet Walmart is. Like that part plugged in. I'm going to be honest.
That's what I was talking about when the sound went down. That's where I was going with this. The Sobeys store in Fall River has been there for 20 years. I was living in the neighborhood when they built it, and it was never a busy store. I mean, you know what? I've never seen it packed. Mm-hmm. And now that they have a limited amount of people, you can go there and you got your little spaces where you can stand and all that. You got to wear your mask and sanitize, and I do all that. I go in the store and it's just as busy as it's been for 20 years. I mean, like it's no different. It is what it is. And I don't feel I don't feel like I'm being compromised. I have a mask on. I see people going the other way. You walk down the wrong lane and the wrong arrow is going the other way, and they give you the stink eye and all that. It's like, dude, I mean, or if I walk past, like, hey, no problem. Like to yell at me, if you want to scream at me, you're risking more.
That was my point earlier. So,
just
people are used to dancing in a bar. People used to walking down the same aisle together.
What I do, and if I find myself in where I'm not supposed to be, or if someone's coming toward, I'm not going to yell at them. I just turn my head and walk past and try to be a good, decent citizen.
Sure.
Somehow, we have to do that in all, not just in the Sobeys and not just in the Walmart. We have to do that in bars and restaurants
That's
too.
right.
You know what I mean? Because we all want to go to the bar and restaurant. If we're just respectful of one another, the numbers are going to go up no matter what we do, or they're not going to go up, or whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I still don't think the masks, especially cloth masks, I don't want anybody spitting on me, and I don't want to spit in anybody else. And I'll sanitize my hands, and that's great. And whether it's that or the testing or going in, they take your temperature and all that, that's all good. None of it's 100%. But if you're going to send us home to kill this pandemic, you got to shut the whole thing down.
Yeah, that's fair.
You got to shut the whole thing down. You can't pick favorites.
Yeah.
You just can't say, well, and then the essential service, and what's an essential service? And then we're getting back to the thing.
We probably all have family in Ontario, or know somebody in Ontario. I mean, the numbers they were staggering. Yet they still kept open until Boxing Day. It's like, okay, you know what? Yeah. So we know what that was all about. It's obviously cash is king. Yeah. So what are we really after here? Are we after a cure? Are we after flattening the curve? Or are we just after the almighty dollar? It's got. You're right. It has to be fair for everybody.
Because the service industry and the entertainment industry are deemed dispensable until people start going crazy, and then that mental health crisis line starts ringing off the hook.
That's right. Sure.
And people start, what's the cost here? You know what I mean? Wear a mask, sanitize, do a rapid test, do something like that. Open the bloody bar. Yep. And people might. I'm not doing this because I'm reckless. I'll do my bit. I walk in the ale house. I wear a mask. Yep. I take my guitar, go up on stage. I take my mask off when I get on stage. I've just started doing this. I go to a drive-through and I wear a mask. I put it on when I'm talking to her, and she looks back and she says, you can tell that that's awful nice of you. It's like saying thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's not a personal liberty thing. We're in it together. We're all trying to do it. But once we start thinking that way, it's going to be easier and easier for us to start feeling comfortable in slightly larger groups. Like even now with like sporting events with the hockey and all that, like having nobody in an arena is kind of weird.
But they had 14,000 people for the Super Bowl. Is that right?
I think they got 9,000 tickets sold for essential workers or something like that.
It's not going to be a huge amount, but I mean that's all TV revenue and it's different sorts of streams.
But here's the thing: like if you want to like instead of putting 1,000 people in a room together, why don't you make like booths of 150 and keep groups of 150 and with their own end? Like that's what they're kind of doing now. Yep. And it might become a new normal to the point where we can still have a show, we can still have a concert, we can still have a hockey game. And you know what? And the pandemic will go away and it'll come back, or there'll be another pandemic, or there'll be some other virus that's going to come along. But we're already used to learning how to mitigate through that and maybe perhaps keep the numbers down, because there's no way you can say we're shutting it all down and the government, I mean, here we go, getting political again, but when you have the health minister, I think was a fact check, I don't know, but the health minister of Ontario, was that who it was that made a little video of him sitting by the fireplace with a book telling everybody to have a wonderful Christmas at home with their families?
Yeah, then he went down south.
Maybe pre-recorded it and he played it over the holidays while he was in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on.
It's semantics and it's optics and it's bullshit.
Well, it's not optics.
Laurie makes a good point here too. So I think the reason, in my opinion, the big box companies have head offices with CEOs that can contribute to a political fund. Well,
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, possibly, but Melissa, she tuned in late. Sorry, tuning in late after work, so this may have been raised, but Liberals are voting for the new premier in February, are reaching out to Ian, Labby, Randy to see where they are and where they stand, lacking on all platforms. The answer is yes. The answer is have not heard back. And the answer is don't expect to. So fine with that. That's why we're doing what we're doing tonight. The other thing too, and I'm not in the shot right now, but when I do, Jason McCorson made the real funny point there about the music, and Jason did this logo for us, and did it. He turned it on 2 hours, and nobody can see this, I don't think, but Jason did this tattoo for me
Well,
about
sure.
6 years ago,
That's lovely.
and it's yeah. Anyway, he's no longer tattooing, but Jason is one talented individual. I'd also be remiss because we were living in unprecedented times. Yeah. If we didn't give a shout out to Jeff McPherson,
Absolutely.
who Jeff is doing those very funny, very creative bits that you see on the site promoting everybody. Jerry Ham, Chantel, our media friends, Nicole Belfontaine, Sheldon McLeod, Rick Howe, we can add him to the
I
list.
hope he's feeling better too.
Sure. Liz Rigney, I'll remember the next as we go.
Michelle?
Well,
Steve Ruxton,
yeah,
Bruce
Everybody,
Nelson.
we're all in this,
right?
the whole Monty's crowd. Like, so we've got into,
And these are experts in their field. I mean, you're talking a Jerry,
As opposed
Jerry,
to
like,
us outstanding in our field.
but I mean, these guys are all helping us to spread the word. They're helping us to maintain our mental capacity, our mental state.
For us, it's
And
never been
they're
just
all
the art.
they're in the same boat
That's
we're
right.
in.
It's never been just the artist for us. And I think if you go back and watch these 130 videos that we have on YouTube, it's never been one artist. It's been the support, not just the lead singer. It's been the guitar player, the bass player, the drummer. And then we get off and we talk to agents and publicists and writers and actors. And the entire arts and industry business is suffering. We all are. The world is suffering because of this pandemic, with no question. But it just seems that some of them are bounced back a little quicker. And I just don't see how it's going to bounce back if we totally ignore it. If you're not, if we're in the middle of a lockdown
Well, it's
and you
relegated.
if you're in the middle of a lockdown, you have the opportunity to go get food from some folks who are doing, pickup only. Go do it. If you have someone like Maurice who's online doing a live stream, for the love of God, pay $10, pay $20, whatever it is. This is how he gets paid. Period.
Well, there's all kinds of things that the government. I'm getting. I mean, this is the call out to the government. I mean, for example, like there's these programs that when the pandemic first started last spring. We're all musicians. We get the same kind of stuff online, and offering. And I have people sending me like links to stuff or saying that you can apply to these programs at the government. But if you do live streaming, you can get paid from the government to do it all that, right? I know lots of people who have applied, but I don't know one person that got a dime for those. You know what I mean? They
that's a good
said it
fact
was
check.
there.
Who
But
got
let's
one of
say-
these grants?
Yeah.
I
So
saw the ads too.
I've live streamed more than a lot of people, right? And I'm not, I'm not doing it for, like I say, not bragging rights. I'm doing it because it's something I felt I need to do. But if anybody qualifies for, like, I would rather them pay me to live stream than pay me to stay home and do nothing.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
The government could spend this money, if they had a department that gave this a thought. Like, if there's, it's $1 billion industry, the entertainment industry. Billions of dollars, right? And there's so many people that are out of work that would be happy to live stream and you wouldn't have to sell your jewelry unless you did it purely for the love of that. But I mean, like, if I made the same amount of money live streaming, 3-4 shows out of a month, then or how many shows it would add up to, if I was working for that money, I'd be so much happier doing this.
That's right.
Rather than while this is going on, rather than just pay me and not have any answers. Don't tell me when I can go back to work. I'm at the mercy, just like we all are, of being told when we can do this and how we can do this. And I mean, like, it would give us it would just give us a feeling that, like, we're doing something it's rewarding and it's something we're getting. I don't feel like I'm just.
I think
I'm at
you
the
rehearsed
mercy.
this, or you read our buddy Dale Lynch from Halifax, Michael Bublé's tour manager. This is what Dale says. A big part of the issue, and he puts unfortunately in parentheses, is time spent. It's a short stop at a grocery store and you are out. In a bar, you can't tell somebody you've got an hour and then you've got to go. And alcohol makes people drop their guard as well. The plan is more difficult than just opening. It definitely needs to start small and then grow again. A difficult thing will be convincing the bands, artists that are on a larger scale of touring, to not step down to the small scale just to play and earn money. That then takes revenue from the small folks already struggling. Exactly what we talked about.
But Laurie Little said the same thing.
Exactly
He's
what
a
we talked
weekend
about.
warrior, but he doesn't want to tap into the live stream thing because that's your revenue stream. That's right. That's a very good point,
Yeah,
Dale.
no, but yeah, absolutely. But at the same point, like the big guys, have already got the mechanisms in place. The country guys, who is it that was buying up all the drive-in theaters just so that they could corner the market on drive-in concerts? The big names. The big names aren't. This is the same thing in entertainment as it is in any other aspect of life right now. Those that have. Those that don't have less. And the biggest stars in the world now are reached because of the lockdown. So people are stuck at home. Drake just set a record. Like he broke the 3 or 4 billion view mark, and he's building a bigger mansion. He's not losing any money in this. It's easy when you're at the top of the heap. Walmart or Amazon is buying all WestJet's planes, because they need more planes to move goods around, and WestJet ain't moving too many. So the big people are doing okay. So when you're talking the big stars, I saw the Dropkick Murphys. They did a live stream from Fenway Park there last spring. It was brilliant. Now, granted, it was for charity and all that, but see, when you're at the top of the heap, your income potential is different.
Yeah.
And you can sustain it a little bit longer, and you have ways that you have an audience, that you've already got an audience. And I'm not here complaining or crying because I'm not famous and I don't have, and I'm crying poor, and I'm not really doing that. I'm doing better than a lot of guys. I'm doing this on behalf of the people who I feel bad for now, who have nothing. And and I know guys that played in bands before this started, and they probably haven't done a gig, and I've guys in my closest circle.
Yeah.
And when this is all over, they've already got a new job doing something else, and they've already probably got a raise or two, maybe a promotion.
Yep.
Their musical days are gone. This killed it. This was the nail in the coffin for them, and they're no going back. And I'm just too stubborn to quit, But there's just not enough money at our level to. We need to do this discussion. We need to figure out a way out of it. I don't know if it's what the government can do. There's a lot of talk. The fact, Keith Mullins, he's a great songwriter. He's in Cape Breton, and we had a little chat going back and forth. And when I didn't do the follow up, so if he's watching this, pipe in, please, message in. But he was asking because he said he had applied or he looked into seeing about a grant for doing online performances,
Right.
and he never heard back. He never heard back.
Yep.
But if the government was willing to put the money where their mouth is, they would get it back. In
You're not looking for a handout, Maurice.
I don't want a handout. I want to earn
I
my.
appreciate
I
what
want
you
to earn a
said,
living.
because
Yeah.
I never really thought of that perspective before.
You
But
know.
if they're going to pay you anyhow, they might as well pay you to perform, to create,
Absolutely.
right? Because that's what you do.
And that's my mental capacity is being improved upon too, right?
And I say they. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not they. It's
Yeah.
us. It's our money collectively. It's our money going into the
It's not
government.
that hard to
and I'm
figure
not
out.
But
blaming
if you understand how a lot of those programs are put together, they're put together by government departments that they go out and they consult, they do whatever. And then it's a group of people, by and large, who don't have a lot of experience in the industry.
That's right.
And then they ask you to apply, then you go and you apply, and then you're turned down because it's turned down by a bunch of bureaucrats that don't understand it. You didn't check one box. Guess what, Maurice? You don't get the live stream. We're going to give it to the dude that's
That's right.
feeding muskrats or something. Like, you know what I mean? That's the way that it works. And it's
Yeah.
frustrating because
Yeah.
I know we personally applied for a couple things, and we came back and said we didn't fit the criteria.
That fit the criteria.
What didn't we fit? The only thing that we didn't fit is that, I interrupt and Dave doesn't. That was the only thing that we had. Frustrating. And we're sitting there and we're going like, all we're trying to do is build this stinking thing, and we're being told no.
And
Right?
it would have been nice to have some money for equipment like this, to get a new computer, to get my windshield fixed. It would have been, all those type
Absolutely.
of things.
The famous cracked windshield.
Yeah,
But
you
that's
know
what
what?
got
I'm not
this.
fixing
You know
either.
what? I'm telling you, that cracked windshield, believe it or not, was the first thing I noticed in your video.
Well, I'll tell you what cracked the windshield. It was a city worker. Anyhow, I'm not even going to get into all that.
Great story.
You didn't notice that we were the first show on the internet to social distance? I was in the back
You're
seat.
in the back
Dave
seat.
with Dave with
Oh, yeah, that's
We
right.
picked up on that the first night, right?
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Man, that was pretty savvy, I think.
Yeah.
So we spend, Sean and I combined, probably 8 to 10 hours a day on top of our job.
You certainly
this,
do.
on this thing.
How many times have I said I'm worried about you guys burning out? I've said that many times, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Because I've had nights and times when I get on a tear, and I think, man, I got to slow down here.
Yeah, you sleep and you're dead. But at the end of the day, we're going to carry on with this because it's important, not just for our friends, but it's for the new friends and for the industry that doesn't have a voice. And we're trying to kind of
And you're not going to lose those friends either. They're with you for life now.
Well,
you did a lot for a lot of people.
We
Like
appreciate it. We appreciate everybody that's on there.
You kept people going. Like you and same thing with Catherine Thompson.
Heather, yeah.
Heather Thompson rather.
Yeah.
And she hit a nerve. And that's when we realized that, hey, listen, this isn't something to be relegated. The government, there's lots of things that the government can do to help us, because the thing is, that our mental health is very important to the point that's going to cost them money down the road too. You know what I mean?
Valid
There's
point.
a lot of, and I mean, like I
question.
said, if they're going to throw me a pittance, give me an agenda.
Yep. Let's throw those
and we'll
numbers
work
out
with
there.
that.
For this for fun, there's 1-888-429-8167. That's the Nova Scotia Mental Health Crisis Line, guys. It's a strange time. If you're feeling down, if you're feeling blue, if you're feeling alone, don't go it alone.
No,
That's
some of us are
lucky
lucky to have support.
That's right. For the kids' helpline, it's 1-800-669-6868. And again, tune in for all the antics on the 28th of January for Bell Talk Day, because again, a good chunk of that money, every text is sent, is given back to the Mental Health Foundation, which is awesome.
Let's go back to your petition. How's that doing? Is that still out there?
It is, and I didn't have any preconceived notions about the fact we could have got 2 people signing it or 10 million. It would have had the same result. It would have had the same closed door.
Which is about the same result we'll probably get out of this podcast.
Right. Which is fine. You know what, though? I'm super impressed with the people that are watching. And
yeah,
waiting.
so am I. And applaud them all. You guys are great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
But the petition is out there, and we're going to keep going. I actually spoke with a gentleman today by the name of Trevor Murphy that is part of a group that, because the government came up with certain regulations, they have to have this committee that meets to advise the government. The committee is actually almost identical to what we want in the petition. But I've sensed this frustration. There's a reason why when you deal with the government, they'll send you an email on a Friday at 4:30. There's little things that they do that's very frustrating. And he asked me if I'd consider being part of it, and I told him I had to get back to him because I think our platform here might have a little bit more teeth to it than what they're trying to do.
Well, it's got some reach, I'll tell you right now, because I see a message here from Kyle Miller, and he lives in Vancouver.
That's right.
And he's watching. He says, great to see you guys together and doing such a great job pushing the value of live music. When this crap-epidemic is over, people will devour live music again like the way it used to be in the crazy 80s. And that's a good point.
I hope he's right.
People were crazy about music in the 80s, and then something happened, right? This might be the trigger,
Yep.
And anyways, and our appetite for is huge, and hopefully the music scene will flourish for a long while again. Keep on rocking, Mo, Sean, and Dave. Love you, Kyle. That's a great.
Well, and I'll tell you,
man.
Kyle, when this ends, I'm going to Vancouver because I want to play that plexiglass drum kit.
yeah.
Is that not the coolest thing?
Plexiglass.
Oh my God!
He doesn't want to hear you say plexiglass.
Yeah, I know what it is, brother, and it's wicked, and they sound
the good five.
And I will say, he was one of the guys that did a video on my birthday, and he did a little thing, and just a good fella.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
8 days to my birthday, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Did you see that pathetic post on Facebook, by the way, people?
Is he still here?
He was begging for money. Was it money?
Check. Sean, are you
Dave,
still there?
it's my birthday next week. I've already registered at CIBC and the NSLC.
Yeah, and the pony wasn't good enough. That's right.
Yeah.
Where are you going to put? And you're right though. Where are you going to put a pony?
I know where I'm going to put the crown royal. Anyhow, back to my story.
Yeah.
This is a call to action because at the end of the day, to Kyle's point, we want it to flourish. We want it to come back. And there's 5,000 plus people on our group right now who love live music and live entertainment. But you know what? You got to pony up, folks. At some point, you're going to have to pay. Yeah. So whether it be paying for a live stream today, whether it be
paying a cover charge in a bar,
charge in a bar, you know what I mean?
And here's another
Listen,
thing.
you see, look, you couldn't go. I'm not like I don't know when I can get on a plane again. I'll be honest. I love traveling down south.
I miss Costa Rica. We've got gigs waiting for us down there.
I'm a little petrified of that. So the money you're saving from not doing these trips, you know what? Spend it locally.
I plan on live streaming from Costa Rica. Like now we got a new skill set, and I'm really happy that this
Didn't
is.
you invite me on that? You invited me.
I invited lots of people, but only 12 lucky people went down.
Yeah. Kyle Miller, by the way, says Crystalite acrylic baby hashtag, and Gloria D. Arlene says hi Mo.
Right on.
There you go.
All right,
one of your fans.
Just wrap her up, fellas.
Yeah, we got to wrap it up. But so I guess in some
Dave says wrap it up, so we got to wrap it up.
We got to wrap it because it's his house, right? He has to get his beauty sleep. He's got to go to work in the morning. So I guess my whole point, and the reason why I called you all here today, is that I think that the government really has to, if they're gonna talk the talk, they're gonna have to walk the walk. I mean, like honestly, when it comes to people going to see live, they all miss live entertainment and all that. But you know what? People bitched about paying a $5 or $7 cover charge. Well, it's gonna cost you $20 because the bar is half full. And I'm getting tips in my tip jar. People they say they don't mind paying. Well, that's good because we're going to need that because it's going to take a while to, And everybody just be respectful of each other, give each other their space. I mean, like, wear a mask, wash your hands when you do, sanitize your hands. And as soon as this rapid testing comes in, like, man, once again, the government, think about it. The money you're spending is keeping people home. Buy 1 million or 2 million of these kits, and then, and give them to the bars, and maybe they can make the money, and people can be still feeling safe. Like, there are options out there, and there's no department.
Sure.
There's no number. There's no 1-800 number. There supposedly is, but it's such loosely.
It's vague.
It's very vague. Yeah. And then our friends Dave and Darlene have to call you guys.
Right.
So you guys are now the de facto experts in the field.
And that's quite frankly
it's
pathetic.
unfair. It's unfair.
So, little PSA here before we wrap. So where are you next? You have your roundabout going on, but what do you got coming?
Yeah. I'm at the Ale House this weekend. It's the first time since the last shutdown, and I'm excited because when I had my eye injury, I couldn't work, and then I just got back to work, and they locked it down. So I'm happy to do that, and the gigs are going to come back. I'm not worried about I'm not worried about me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about people that are lost in the shuffle. I mean, I reinvent myself. You know what I mean? I've reinvented myself lots of times.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to survive. And I get support. I have a lovely girlfriend she's involved in my live streaming. I'm worried about the people who may not play music after this is over, and they're going to be there's the mental health, the people that are stressed out. I have people I play with in music, and I'm seeing it in their faces. I mean, I worry about everyone. I worry
Sean
about people.
makes a good point. He says a lot on when we do live hits, and I love what he says because it's from the heart. It's true. Check in on your neighbor. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
To your point, like, yeah, it's a village. We're a community, and we're seeing that it's smaller
And if
than we
something
ever
good
thought it
happens,
was.
and if you get like a windfall or something like that, like I say, when you're following a stream, like, drop a tip, or like in my case, I don't have that many gigs, but a lot of them are duos. I'll hire whoever hasn't worked the mask. I'll spread it around. Like, I'm doing my part. And that's how we're going to get through this.
This is the time of year people were booking trips. February, March, they wanted to go. What, you can't go anywhere, folks. I mean, like,
some people are going to want to go. They didn't say you can't go. They don't want you to go. You're not going to. That's the thing. But there's those people out there that don't believe that can't tell me what to do. Right, so you can't. That's just the way it is. You can't enforce stuff, right? And that's the problem with the bars. And I hate to make this meeting go on, but when you're worried about getting a fine for doing something wrong, when there's people out there saying, you can't tell me to do that. There's no law that says...
And you don't even know what the fine is. And
and
oftentimes the people that are issuing the fine don't know what they're giving it for.
Yeah.
Just 3 quick things, and then I want to do a little PSA before we go here. Tony P. Croft, thank you for all you guys do. Support local music. Lori Little, I think he has to get a bumper sticker or
at least another mug.
Yeah, well, we got a mug here, Lori, that will run through the dishwasher for you. But thanks, guys, for all that you do to support our local music community. We're all in this together.
Barstools and Band Talk guys, right on there.
Michelle Mosier-Higney, thanks so much for this interesting and informative show. And I hope it was, because we had some fun, but I think we covered some good stuff. Really enjoyed it. Praying we can all get back out there. And Jeff H. Barrett, great discussion. Mo and fellas, so thank you. I would like to, before we go, we started doing a little bit of promotion with some folks. So coming up at Monty's, it's their first show.
Yep.
The boys from Dress to Kill. I know you know them well because they've rehearsed at your place and you helped them out. We did a little press conference with them on Sunday, which was really fun. They're the first show back to Monty's when this opening, February 13th.
That's right.
Nancy at Monty's.ca for your tickets. The 27th, Dave and my project, Barstools and Band Talk project, Side Hustle.
That's a great name.
It is what it is. It's
yeah,
exactly what
I keep coming up with great names. How does he do it? Anyway, Dave's rolling his eyes. February 27th at Monty's. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Nancy at Monty's.ca. And then March 19th and 20th, it's the rebooking of the Frequency Show. And because we were able at the time to sell 150 tickets, we had to break it up. So Saturday's sold out. Friday's almost sold out. So Nancy at Monty's.ca, and we want to thank all those folks down there for doing it. Mo, I want to thank you for coming up with the idea. You're a super humble guy, but you put the bug in my ear a few weeks ago when we started talking about this, and I'd like to see this be a regular thing.
I hated seeing you out there by yourself doing all this talking, and I just felt like your heart is the size of of all outdoors, and you're there going on media, and you're plugging this thing, and you start a petition and all this, and I just felt there's something more we can do, and it's nice to see people chiming in. That's all.
We didn't
I
know.
got what I needed out of this.
To be fair, we didn't know because it's we've always kind of had like a Butt and Jeff kind of fun and games type of environment, joyful distraction from all the crappy shit that's going on. But
which is the whole point of it.
exactly. But this was going to be a little bit more in your face, a little bit more, maybe a little bit more politically charged, if you will. But I mean, we wanted to address the issues, and this is a start. We had, I don't know how many people watching tonight, but it'll be on there. We'll put it on YouTube, be able to watch it over and over again. We want you to share it, to invite your friends to the site,
engage and ask questions.
Exactly.
And you know what I think? Me, on behalf of you guys, I mean, this is a great little, a nice little forum you got going started here. We'll find out in the next day or so. You'll hear people messages say maybe tomorrow say how if they liked it or if it was a waste of their time, or we'll find out. And I think this is a nice thing you guys could be doing. Like, it could be different subject matter, and you could put somebody else in the hot seat. And I think you started something. And I think I think you're onto something here. It's not it's nice to engage. It's almost like a third level of engagement. You got your musicians, you got your industry people, you've got your fans and your followers, and now you have a platform. And I think that's kind of cool.
Feel free to share this to the Nova Scotia
definitely, that badge was worth.
Right.
That's a beautiful badge, and I think that's something I'd like to have a hat with that on it.
Well, maybe we have to. That's very cool. And
Jason
I think if we can, we'll play out with the theme song. But just before, Jeff McPherson, okay, this dude, and he goes, I like Jason McPherson's idea of Benny Hill music, but I would add it to conversations over less serious topics to add a comedy album. So we're already getting ideas about what we can do next time. Maurice mentioned the juggling monkey. We could do that. Oddly enough, Side Hustle almost was going to be called Juggling Monkey, so it's kind of funny how that. So anyway,
I kept dropping the ball.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks so much for doing this, brother.
No problem, brother.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of fun, and hopefully people get something out of it.
Yeah, I hope you did, folks.
Dave, actually, thanks you for being on your best behavior tonight. You went above and beyond. You really did.
You kept the language down,
I would. You know what? You brought a different element than you normally do, and I think that I think people can
Look
actually
at that handsome face there,
right.
Too.
Yes. So
As soon as we
fantastic.
go off the air, I'm going to swear a lot.
Well, that's fine when you do it off the air. If we're trying to get corporate sponsors, this is the best way to do it when they can't hear it. So I'm Sean.
And I'm Dave.
And I'm Mo.
This has been the Barstools Bullpen. Thanks for tuning in, guys. All right.
Peace out.
Lead us out with the tune, brother.
There you go.
Ian McDougall.